Okay, the Ascending Community, um, August the 9th, 2020. So if you missed the message, this is a quick catch up for you. Basically, last week we talked about how that the purpose of our instruction is love, and that love governs our community, governs our leadership, it governs how we move forward and how love operates. And that's what we're trying to produce. We're trying to produce love because we believe in the power of love. Okay? I was looking up the educational department's a mission statement for our country, and their mission statement is to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring equal access. Okay. Notice that the goal of the education department is completely different than that of Scripture and that of the Bible. We are not pursuing love. We are pursuing the ability to compete in a global market. And competitors are interested in being number one. Now these two systems have two different trajectories because the power of love is only found when a person is willing to do two, willing to be second, willing to put someone else first. But when you're training your culture and the goal of your educational system is competitiveness, you're trying to be number one, and that's the key difference. Okay, you don't see teams, sport teams going out there saying, hey, we're number two, we're number two. No, 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 come on, we're number one. And so the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what builds community better, the love of power or the power of love? And how do we know which really marks our community? I really do believe that some of the struggles that we're going through right now as a culture is because we have opted for the love of power. And that love of power has really messed us up because there's some real problems with it. We're going to get into that. The, chapter 2 of 1 Timothy opens with these words. It says, I urge that entreaties and prayer, petitions and thanksgiving be made on the behalf of all men, for kings and all who are in authority, so that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life in all godliness and dignity. Therefore, I want the men in every place to pray, lifting up holy hands without wrath and dissension. Okay, we have to understand the culture back then was all about the king, and whoever was in authority because the king picked them to be in authority. So it was the king and his cronies that were in charge, and everybody served the king. Everybody served the king. That's the way it is. But today, it's not that much different, although we may not have a king per se. But everybody serves somebody. I mean, even if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you still have your shareholders that you have to serve, because your ability to keep your position is based upon your ability to please those who have invested into your company. And so everybody serves somebody. Now, this is a concept that is just out there. Everybody does second. And in fact, if you're not good at doing second, you're not going to be good at doing well. Now, chapter 2 has this passage, and we have to deal with it because it always gets us in trouble. But it talks about the home. It doesn't just talk about love of king and country. It talks about how do we structure the home. And Paul said some radical things. He said, I do not allow a woman to teach or exercise authority over man, but to remain quiet. Women will be preserved through the bearing of children if they continue in faith and love and sanctity with self-restraint. Now, this we cringe at because obviously this is a sexist statement. I mean, Paul is not pulling his punches here. Okay, he describes a traditional stereotype for a gender role. That's the very definition of sexism. But in a culture that was used to doing second, this isn't a problem if you're willing to do second, because quite frankly, if your goal of your instruction is love, Who loves the kids more than the mom? And who can train the kids how to love more than the mom? So when you live in a culture where everybody serves somebody and everybody does second, except for maybe the king, there's no problem with this. And we know this in a workaday world. The funny thing is that we try to operate our families differently. And I don't know. When you look at the qualities, and one of the things that marks the difference between these two leadership styles, the one that is preparing people for competition so that they can be number one, versus the ones that have discovered the power of love and just want to do second and do well. When you look at the qualities of leaders, how many of us would be looking for a CEO if we were running a corporate office or a Fortune 500 company? We would want a person that is gentle, peaceable, temperate, prudent, not a fighter, not greedy, not conceited. I mean, that right there, that's just crazy, because how's this guy going to advance the company? Okay, but quite precisely, when your goal is love, you pursue a different end. When your goal is power, you want a person who is able to control externals, the person that is able to make things happen for the company. But when your goal is love, you want a person who can control himself, a person who isn't moody, he's temperate, a person who is prudent in his actions. He has self-restraint. He's not addicted to what he consumes. He's not controlled by his anger. He knows the difference between responding and reacting. He's not controlled by his desires. I mean, this is a guy who has self-control. It's what was described in the verse prior, self-restraint, okay? And these are the people that make great spouses because they control themselves. They are sexually faithful. They are above reproach in their community because they are honorable, they're respectable, they're teachable, they're hospitable. I mean, these folks have learned what it means to be in control, so much so that even their children are obedient. They've learned self-control from their parents. Now, these are the qualities of good leaders, okay? So what do we need to do? What do we need to realize? First of all, that if you're pursuing equality of power, that will do nothing more than just ensure inequality. And that's a problem in our culture, because we don't believe things are equal unless we have equal outcomes. But you can't have equal outcomes if you're looking to use power as your base for equality. Love defines equality as this: everybody's loved by everybody. Now that's a pretty good definition of equality, and if we could have that, I don't know anybody that wouldn't accept that, hands down. What is equality? Equality is when everybody is loved by everybody. That's equality. But when you have equality based upon power, you basically are trying to assure that everybody has the ability to have the same amount of success, and you got to somehow think that, well, but we not only do we have this competition where some people win and some people lose, but we've got to make sure that everybody wins a little bit and everybody loses a little bit, and it's a jumbled mess. It doesn't work, because equality is a byproduct of love. Okay, power seeks to master others. Love, on the other hand, just wants to master itself. And so when we look for leaders who are lovers. And they're not hard to recognize because people love them back. Now, that doesn't guarantee that the person that we find is going to be a great leader, because people can have a large following, and that doesn't mean they're going to be a great leader. But beware of the person that you want to be a leader who doesn't have anyone that follows them. No one that sees that they're loved by this person. They're probably not a good choice for a leader. Well, I hope this helps understanding church leadership and what we do when we think through leadership and what leadership is all about. And quite frankly, I think we need to get busy about producing leaders, because the world needs our kind of leaders, because our kind of leaders, I believe, are the ones that are going to make the real difference in the future. So thanks. God bless. We'll hope to see you on Sunday.